We will be looking at problem 1.14, CEO salaries. This is on page 23. This problem will involve using your calculator pretty substantially, so be prepared. Okay, the problem gives us a list of 59 small businesses. CEO, that's the chief executive officer, the boss essentially, 59 small businesses, and their yearly salaries are rounded to the nearest thousand. So most of those numbers are several $100,000 that they're making. The problem asks us to construct a histogram for these data, describe the shape, center, and spread of the CEO salaries. Are there any apparent outliers? Okay. Hopefully you remember from previous video that we talked about SOX. SOX is the shape, outliers, center, and spread of a distribution. When we describe a one variable distribution, we will talk about these things, these criteria. Okay, at this time, pause the video, go into the home screen to New Doc, Lists and Spreadsheets. That'll be selection 4, and enter in those 59 numbers. Pause the video at this time and enter in those 59 numbers at the bottom of page 23. Okay. Now that you have entered in the 59 numbers, let's take a look. Alright, I've got my numbers here in this first column. Instead of calling this the arbitrary variable X, I'm actually going to name it CEO salaries. Alright, once I have all the numbers in that list, I will hit Control Doc. That's like Control I, it's an insert. Control Doc. And now I will go to 5, Data and Statistics. And here I see a plot. I now want to label the x-axis with the CEO salaries label. Clicking on this, CEO salaries, that's my only one. Boom. And then this is a dot plot. And we can already begin to describe the shape, outlier, center, and spread. You can see the shape is skewed to the right. If you drew a smooth curve over this, it would be a little more right skewed. And that's typically the case with distributions like salaries. Many people are going to be in one area, and then a few people will make substantially more. Alright, but the problem asks for us to make a histogram. Here's how we make a histogram. Menu. 1, plot type. And you'll see selection 3 is histogram. And there's a histogram. This takes and arranges the dots in bins, that is ranges. So in this first bin, if you hover over it, that's from 0 to 100,000. You see this parentheses, it means if you're exactly 100,000, you're in the next one. 0 is in this one, from 0 to basically just before 100,000. We have 2 observations, and you can find those numbers if you want to. One person's making 21,000 and one's making 58,000. I'm going to skip over to this largest bin. That is from 200,000 to almost 300,000. All right, 18 such points in here. You see this very tiny bin over to the far right? Well, that's that largest salary. It says 1 point is from 1,100 to 1,200. That's thousands, so that's million. That's the one observation that's 1,103. That person made 1,103,000. Right, so this is how we construct our histogram. Now we can talk about the shape, outliers, center, and spread of this distribution. Well, the shape is pretty clearly right skewed. With shape, we'll say it's the two big shapes are skewed or symmetric. Skewed means it has a tail more to one side. Symmetric means it's roughly similar on the right and left. You could draw one line through it. It would be roughly similar on both sides. Outliers. Well, this observation here appears to be an outlier. 1,103,000. Okay, that's 1,100,000. Appears to be an outlier. For center, we might use the median. Again, with our right skewed distribution, the median would be an appropriate measure. Here is one way you can find the median. From our spreadsheet, we will go Menu, for statistics, that makes sense, and then one stat calculations. The first selection is one variable statistics. Number of lists, we have one list. It says the X list, that is what we want to do. We're not going to use the B column, it's the A column. More specifically, it's our CEO salaries that we want to do these one variable statistics on. I hit enter there, and then everything else is okay. The frequency list is 1. The result column is going to be C. Okay. And now it's going to give us many statistics. X bar, that's the sample mean. We could list that for the center, but we're going to choose the median. Scroll on down. N is the number of numbers, 59. Minimum is 21. Q1, that's the first quartile, is 250. The median is 350. That is $350,000 is the median salary. $350,000. Okay. Spread. One measure of spread is the range. All right, and so we can easily find the range of this data. Range is the maximum minus the minimum. And we can see both of those values here. The min is 21. The max we've already seen is 1,103. So in this case, max 1,103,000 minus min 21. Doing that subtraction would yield 1,082. That's 1,082,000. We're dealing with thousands in this case. 1,082,000 roughly. Dollars we're speaking of. Alright, that is the range, the distance from the maximum to the minimum observation. So I'm going to now write in a couple of sentences this in paragraph form. The data appears to be right skewed with one apparent outlier. The data is right skewed. That means there's a tail to the right with one, we'll say, apparent outlier. Later on we will get a quantitative definition for outlier. We'll know for sure if that number is, not just the way it looks. The data is right skewed with one apparent outlier. The median is 350,000, and the range is 1,082,000. All right. One thing I've failed to do here is say what this, using context, what we're talking about. So we're talking about CEO salaries. We should say that here. The data for CEO salaries. We want to use context from the problem. The data for CEO salaries is right skewed with one apparent outlier. The median is 350 and the range is 1,082. All right, that wraps up 1.14.